The best way to attack the trade deadline for the Cincinnati Reds is to be aggressive. Be aggressive.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, I'm Stephen Offenbaker. He's Jeff Carr. Thanks for being an everydayer, and thanks for joining us on Locked On Reds. Today's episode is brought to you by Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use the code Locked On to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade $25. A little bit later in today's show, Jeff and I are going to pause. We're going to say kumbaya. We're going to hum. We're going to have a moment of zen, and we're going to talk a little positivity. We're going to talk a little bit of good things. We're going to take deep, relaxing breaths. That's coming up a little bit later. Also, we're going to relive some recent trade deadlines, some flops. Maybe there's a success mixed in there. We're going to need the zen following a review of some of Nick Krall's best work. But where we are going to begin is with this trade deadline, because the Reds have an opportunity to attack this deadline as a seller and be maybe one of the leaders in the seller's market right now. And they do have some pieces that other teams are going to want. They have before them an opportunity to go out there and do some things and prepare themselves for the 2027 season and beyond, Jeff. And I think the Red Sox and Nationals deal, you talked about this with Tim a little bit yesterday, sets the market a little bit and kind of creates a lane for the Reds to get into and say, well, if the Red Sox were able to do this, here's what we're going to be able to do because we have more to offer. We have more to sell. So I look at where the Reds are positioned right now, and I think the conversation about how do the Reds attack this trade line? What's their biggest piece? What's the thing that's going to bring them the most in return? What's the one move they've got to get right? I think it starts with Brady Singer, because that's the guy I think that you can go out and get something that will help this team for multiple years.
And I believe that there's something to that maybe happening soon. In fact, he was scheduled to pitch for Tuesday's game against the Cleveland Guardians. Now that Tuesday has become a day-night doubleheader, which you don't see those very often. It's interesting that that's how this is going to go for the Reds and Guardians. But Chase Burns will pitch in game one. The Reds have decided they will go to a bullpen game in game two. Mind you, the Guardians are going with their scheduled starters of game 1 and 2 in Slade Ciccone and Gavin Williams. They are not changing anything. The Reds, for some reason, aren't pitching Brady Singer and are going to a bullpen game. That makes me believe that they're deep into conversations with someone involving Brady Singer in a trade. And the reason that this has kind of moved a little bit and Brady Singer kind of feels like the guy that they're going to get a lot for now is that we do have more information on Spencer Steer. He has a sprained right wrist. They believe that he will be able to heal on his own, doesn't need surgery, but they're not going to evaluate him for another 2 weeks, which means that he's being shut down for at least 2 weeks. We'll have to see exactly what that means moving forward. Is he going to be ready to go in 2 weeks? I don't know. And I think this is going to really hurt his trade value. That doesn't mean I wouldn't listen to offers on him, but I think that the Reds will – I don't think they will get what they were looking for, even just 24 hours ago. So it's probably not likely that he gets dealt now. Brady Singer looks like the most valuable target on this, but the Reds need to be aggressive and just trade. If they're on an expiring deal, trade them. Period, plain and simple. See what you can get for Singer, for Stephenson, for Nathaniel Lowe. See what you can get for Caleb Ferguson, Brock Burke. See what you can get for even Emilio Pagan and Pierce Johnson. I know those guys have differing options and things like that. Eugenio Suarez as well. They all need to be traded. You need to see what you can get, because as we'll look at here in a few minutes, the Reds did this thing where they're just like, well, but we need to field a team for the rest of the year, and we need to at least have some sort of capability to win a ball game here or there. No, I don't care. I don't care how many wins they have between now and the end of the season, because they're not making the playoffs. They need to make the playoffs next year. Do something now to make the next season good. So you got to cook at the deadline, Nick Krall. You can't just be sitting by and letting whatever's in the microwave be dinner.
How historically bad could this bullpen be after the deadline if they actually move all those guys? I mean, we joke all the time We joke all the time about you and I having to pitch for this team, but that could become a reality. I mean, I'm going to start stretching a little bit and get the old left arm ready again, Jeff, because there might not be anybody left to throw. I mean,
It
you
shouldn't
could end up in a space where if they trade all those arms, Tejay Antone becomes your closer, and then I don't know who else you've got. You said a lot of names.
Maxwell and Luis May up.
Yeah,
Connor Phillips up. We're going to see a lot of walks.
you said a lot of names there. And some of them make me sad, but it just is what it is. JJ Bleday should be traded for whatever you can get for him. Tyler Stephenson, you pit the Dodgers, the White Sox, the Yankees all against each other. You trade him to the highest bidder. Nathaniel Lowe, whatever you get for him, you have bought low, you sell high. This is how you do it. A lot of guys that have had a good year, and a lot of guys that are fan favorites. There's a lot of people around here that love Tyler Stephenson, including you and I. It will be sad to see him go, but we know they're not going to extend him. He's not going to re-sign here, so you have to trade that guy. It would be criminal to let a catcher that can hit walk to the open market and get nothing in return for him.
The emotional part of this needs to be checked at the door, because the trade deadline is about maximizing value in what you have on your roster and what you can add to your roster for now and for the future. And what the Reds really need to look at this and be honest with themselves is this roster is imperfect and flawed. And there are some things you can do to fix that. And hopefully there are some things you can do to fix that right now at the deadline. A lot of that work needs to be done in the offseason as well. But seeing what the Red Sox traded for a right-handed guy who just now decided to break out and figure out how to be a good hitter in Curtis Mead, they traded a really good pitcher for him. I believe that there are more trades like that to be had if Nick Krall is savvy enough to do it. But Nick Krall has been that guy that has succumbed to emotion. Nick Krall has been that guy that has succumbed to, prisoner of the moment when it comes to evaluating guys. And I believe that he's got to put all of that aside and say, look, we could shuffle some things around. We can change up some stuff. We could go get some guys, maybe some guys that are either undervalued by other teams, on top of top prospects here or there, put together a little bit of a different roster around a solid core. The Reds have a solid core. They don't have to tear the thing down to the studs, but think of how many expiring contracts that they have on this roster. They did that because they weren't sure. Teams don't invest in all these one-year guys if they're sure that this is what their team is. I think that they hedged their bet a little bit back in March, and now it's time to just let the hedge be the hedge and go make some trades.
Let me ask you this, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here just a little bit. I'm going to put myself in the Reds front office for just a second. Do you think Nick Krall's looking at baseball? I've got Baseball Reference over here on the other monitor, Jeff. Do you think he's looking at it right now going, we've won 3 series in a row. We're 5 games back in the wild card now. We're within striking distance, really, of competing for a postseason spot. We could, by God, salvage this season. We don't need to trade everybody away. We need to go get a journeyman outfielder.
I got 2 stats that Nick Krall should be looking at instead of that. Run differential, where the Reds are the second worst team in the National League. The Mets are better than them, and I believe the Giants have a better run differential than they do. And on top of that, he should be looking at Fangraphs, where the total team WAR is the worst in Major League Baseball. When you add together Reds pitchers and Reds hitters, and that number for wins above replacement, even the Rockies have more than the Reds. They've got to fix this, and it starts right now. You don't wait till the offseason. You don't let this play out. You don't see if maybe they can come back, because guess what's going to happen in September? You're going to get flattened. And then all the trades that you didn't make are going to look real silly.
I agree with you. I worry with Nick Krall running this thing. I have a feeling that they're sitting around a conference room table and somebody is saying those things to him, Jeff.
No, I agree. And honestly, if there isn't that guy in the room, then they have a incomplete staff, They've got to have that guy. They got to have the other guy that's just like, this team's horrible, tear it down to the studs. They need to have all these different guys talking to Nick Krall so that Nick Krall can make the right decision, because it feels like he's made a lot of bad decisions, Steve. And one of the continually bad decisions that he has made over the last couple of years is nothing. And nothing is an action. And we have seen it quite a bit. And we'll tell you why it's been so bad for them. Coming up next.
Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a home run today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick on who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make your free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get a chance to make your prediction before first pitch. If you're checking out the Reds and Guardians in game 1 of the doubleheader, the Guardians have Ciccone going on the mound, and there's one guy on your Cincinnati Reds that has taken him deep. That is Nathaniel Lowe. He's the only guy on the roster that's done it. He is going to do it again. Place that bet over at FanDuel right now. So if you're ready to play your game today, join all the action over at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick for who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, the official partner of MLB.
Thank you so much for making Locked On Reds part of your day. If we're your first listen, your second listen, however many listens, we appreciate you. And we really appreciate our everydayers. And if you're not one, make sure you hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app and join us every single day to talk a little bit of Reds all throughout the year. We also have the Locked On Reds Everydayer Club. If you go to lockedonreds.supercast.com or just copy the link that we have down in the show description down below, you can learn more about this. $5 a month, $50 for the whole year. Ad-free podcast audio feed for you. And we're going to have some more interaction stuff coming up later on this month that we'll talk about. We are getting late into the month, but as we pass the trade deadline, we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about that stuff. It's things are quite busy around here right now, but going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you check that out. All right, Steve, part of the reason that we are all so very concerned, and some of the reason if you go to your local supermarket or your local pharmacy, you won't find any Tums or, any sort of antacid, because quite frankly, the trade deadline just gets us all in a bundle here when it comes to heartburn, is because the guy who's been in charge of this thing for the last couple of years is the same guy who's in charge of this one. And this is why I am begging for the Reds to be busy. Because if you were to say, let Nick Krall cook, it'd be the first time that he did it. He just really hasn't done it at all. And look, I mostly, because you were trying to talk me down from this one, and I was just really, really trying to be excited about it. I was excited about the Ke'Bryan Hayes trade whenever it happened. I was wrong. And then there was Zach Littell and Miguel Andujar, and I kind of felt like, all right, as a whole, the trade deadline from last year was something. It kind of helped them get to the playoffs. And that was the best trade deadline that he has had, because
and you hit on this
the rest of
right before the end. Yeah, you hit on this right before the end of the last segment when you said, doing nothing is an action. Well, if you stack up last year's trade deadline to doing nothing, well, at least he did something. Right. He did go try and add pieces, although that Ke'Bryan Hayes deal still, just every time I think about it, makes me shake my head. I mean, and it's not the benefit of hindsight, because I hated that deal when they did it. So I look back on that and I'm like, yeah, it still stinks, and it's proven out to stink. But, Andujar was a decent pickup. Littell, he tried. He added some pitching. You can never fault the guy for adding pitching, I guess. But you look at this deadline, and this is one of those things he really has to get this right, because what he's done, and we've talked about this over the last few weeks, Jeff, what he's done during this unbelievably long tenure that he's had in the Cincinnati Reds organization, Every aspect of this franchise, from top to bottom, from level to level, from the Major League Baseball level all the way down to the complex league in Arizona, every facet of this organization is in a worse place than it was 5 or 6 years ago. The ratings are worse. The overall rankings are worse. The prospects moving through the system are non-existent. The performance at the major league level has fallen off. It is all bad. This is probably his last best chance to turn the tide and change the narrative. And he's going to have to send away a lot of faces to do it. But the return here, what he gets back, can either prime this team for 2027, 2028, or really just be the beginning of a free fall that sees this team fire sale. And I mean fire sale everybody in the next year or two. So Nick Krall has before him an opportunity to save it or completely destroy it this deadline.
Yeah, and he can't do what he did the 2 years before last year, because 2024 and 2023 was a whole lot of nothing. And I know 2024, they were already sort of out of it by the deadline. So he's doing a little bit of a hybrid buy-sell type thing. If you remember in 2024, the Reds traded Frankie Montas to Milwaukee, and they got Joey Wiemer and Jacob Junis and a little bit of cash on top of that. Jacob Junis, of course, being the best of the two, although Joey Wiemer was part of the deal that got Brady Singer here. He and Jonathan India went to Kansas City for Brady Singer. So there was something to that.
No,
but Jacob Junis pitched the rest of the year and just went away.
You can't do that. You have to take every trade in a vacuum. Nick Krall.
That's right. That's what he said. Yeah, exactly. One trade does not affect another. You're right. Oh, I rescind those points there. He also traded Lucas Sims to Boston for Ovis Portes. Portes is 21 years old, just made it to Dayton. And then he traded Austin Slater and Levon Soto, which barely saw either one of those guys for a player name later. Ended up being Davis Wenzel. We saw as much of him as we saw the other two guys, so that didn't really do much. And also got Ty France off the DFA pile. So one of those things where he lucks into something for a minute and Ty France fills a spot. But overall, like they had a chance to make some other trades and get better for 2025, but they decided to hold on to guys like Nick Martinez and Jonathan India. And they turned India into Brady Singer in the offseason, but could that have even been a better trade at the deadline? Could they have gotten something for Nick Martinez where they then turned around and instead of spending $21 million on him for 2025, they spend that on other needs? Like, there's a lot of what ifs there. And then you go back to the worst of these three deadlines, 2023, where the Reds were in first place at the time. And the Reds were looking great at the time. And we had the summer of fun that turned out to be the best summer that we've seen so far of this core of players. And all he did was trade for Sam Maul. And that was it. And they needed starting pitching. And his quote to that effect was, well, nothing really materialized there. Yeah. Because you didn't – there could have been. There could have been something. I don't know why nothing materialized there. It sounds as though – he was getting the Boston version of the trade from last, or the Washington version from the trade of last night, where it was like, okay, or Saturday night, where you've got to trade somebody that you might not be comfortable with parting with to make an area of your team good enough to make that run. And he decided to hold off on. I don't know that this man is capable of doing the right deadline. But he's got to figure it out this year. He's got
all these expiring contracts, Jeff, he doesn't have the luxury of saying nothing materialized. All of the guys we talked about in the last segment that are on 1-year deals, on expiring deals, you take the best offer that's on the table on August 3rd, right before the deadline. I don't care what it is. You take whatever the best offer you got is. At some point, you stop haggling and you pull the trigger. Because what you can't do is get past the deadline and on August 4th have the same team intact and have got nothing. And then all those guys walk at the end of the year and you've done nothing to set up for 2027 and beyond. He does not have the luxury to try and fleece somebody, to try and get that one extra piece. You're going to give me what I asked for or we're not going to do anything. That he cannot do. They have to trade these guys. You have to trade Tyler Stephenson. You have to trade every one of those bullpen arms that are on expiring deals. You have to trade JJ Bleday. And I know that he's not on an expiring deal, but I can guarantee you that his value is as high as it's going to get right now.
Right.
You look at his history, you look at the ups and downs he's had, you look at his OPS plus over the course of his career. This is the pinnacle right now, folks. You trade him at this all-time high, and you get something in return for him. Same with Nathaniel Lowe. You got him at a bargain basement price. He's come in here. He has demonstrated that he still has pop in the bat. He has demonstrated that he is still really good against right-handed pitching. There is somebody out there right now that has a legitimate shot at the playoffs that wants that bat on their bench. You trade him for what you can get. Didn't materialize is not an option.
No, he must learn from his past mistakes and be aggressive at this trade deadline.
Well, Jeff, we gotta finish strong here because we've talked about what they need to do. We're talking about dismantling some of this team. We're talking about trading away some fan favorites. It's not going to be fun on August 3rd. We're going to be here. We're going to cover every single second of it, but there are pieces of this that are not going to be fun. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to take a moment of zen. We're going to talk about some fun stuff. We're going to talk about some positive things. We're going to be positive for the last little bit of this show. That's coming up right after this.
Make baseball season more this year over on Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, where you can trade on every single game. Today, at least at the beginning part of the doubleheader, the game that was supposed to happen last night, the Reds are trading at 60% to beat the Cleveland Guardians. Now, a big part of that is Chase Burns, because when Chase Burns pitches, the Reds win. And if you place a $100 trade on the Reds to win, and they do that, your payout will be $162.11 over on Kalshi, because on Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position, trade the draft pick, the game, and more over on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app and use the code LOCKEDON to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade $25. Kalshi. Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 and up only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
If you can't watch us on YouTube, guess what? We are on every single audio podcasting platform in existence, I think. If you find one we're not on and you need us to be there, message Jeff. He can probably make it happen for you. The audio feeds is also where the Everydayer Club lives. $5 a month, $50 a year for ads-free Locked On Reds. If you haven't done so, and I don't know why you wouldn't have at this point, but if you have not done so, click those subscribe buttons. Click those notification bells. Click that thumbs up. Give us a like. Help push this show out to all the other Reds fans out there. Because if we're going to suffer, we should all suffer together. And we can all talk about it amongst ourselves. All right, Jeff, let's have some positivity. Let's talk about some good things, something nice and fun and optimistic. And
just makes me think of that Ron Weasley quote from Harry Potter. You're going to suffer, but you're going to be happy about it. That's what we do here.
At least it
Welcome to Lockdown.
At least it wasn't Star Wars. All right, optimistic Jeff has been missing in action.
He's hurt
a little bit here the last several weeks and months. Let's bring him back. Hit me with something. Optimistic Jeff.
He's hurting, but I'll tell you this: Tejay Antone is the guy that's trying to keep him up. He's really trying to drag optimistic Jeff through the rest of this season, because you talk about a heck of a season. Tejay Antone is having a heck of a season right now. He has already set a career high in games appeared in. He is 10 outs away from tying his career high in innings pitch. His career high in innings pitch was back when he was starting a few games for the Reds in 2020, and he pitched 35 and a third innings pitch. He's got 32 right now. So if he gives the Reds 11 outs between now and the end of the season, he will set a career high in innings pitched. And he's doing this in such a way, like, this isn't the same strikeout machine guy that we saw from years past, but this is the efficient guy that we've always wanted to see in pretty much every relief pitcher that comes out of the Reds bullpen. I mean, his walks per nine is at 2.3, and he's allowing less than a base runner per inning. And of course, that's whip, walks plus hits per innings pitched, is 0.969, so less than one. He's just been phenomenal. He's been the most reliable guy out of the Reds bullpen and the most reliable / durable. It's between him and Brock Burke as well, like the two most reliable guys on the Reds bullpen this year. It's just, I wouldn't thought to have said that back in February. Like, absolutely awesome to see that this is where Tejay Antone is now.
Yeah, if you had told me we were going to get 32 appearances out of him back in February, I would have told you there's no way that's going to happen. His arm might fall off. That's just not going to happen. But he has looked great. You're not wrong in your assessment of how he has performed. If you go back to his first couple years in the majors, his strikeouts per nine was above 11 both years. 11.5 his first year, 11.2 his second year. Currently, it sits at 7.9. I like the fact that he has learned to be a different kind of pitcher, because that tells me maybe his arm is going to hold up now, because his arm could not hold up to being that strikeout guy of 11 plus per nine. Couldn't be that guy. The good thing here is that while the strikeouts per nine has come down out of necessity based on the injuries and him working his way back and all the things, that walks per nine has actually gotten so much better. His first year it was at 4.1. Second year it was 3.5. He's never been sub 3 in walks per nine. This year at 2.3. I love what we're seeing from Tejay Antone from a performance level, and I love what this is for Tejay Antone. There's not a guy out there that has worked harder to be in Major League Baseball than Tejay Antone has, coming back time and time again from Tommy John surgeries. I love this for him. I'm very happy to see it. Here's another snippet of optimism, another snippet of good. It's Reds related. It's not on-field product anymore. But how good has Joseph Daniel Votto been in the analyst role on national television? This guy looks like he's done this his whole life. I said when it was announced that he signed this deal and that he was going to be on TV doing this thing, I said this could be the start of a second Hall of Fame career. Has there ever been a guy that's an inductee into Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame and then wins the Ford Frick Award for journalism, for broadcasting? This could be a first. Joey Votto could be a 2-time Hall of Famer. He's that good. If you haven't heard him on a broadcast yet, make an appointment and watch Joey Votto on NBC. He is amazing at that job.
Did Joe Morgan ever get? No, because I don't think they do that.
They might not even do that, but if they don't do that, they should now, because Joey Votto should be the first guy to get inducted twice into Major League Baseball Hall of Fame and make up for that MVP they didn't give him in 2017.
Yeah, he's the only guy I can think of for that one. Yeah, no, he was phenomenal on the NBC broadcast. And in case you missed it, it was the Phillies and the Yankees, and the Phillies smashed the Yankees in that game. But there were like some beautiful moments, and there's clips out on social media, whether it be from Awful Announcing, or there's a couple of different folks that were sharing specific clips. And there was one in particular where he was breaking down Kyle Schwarber against a left-handed relief pitcher named Tim Hill. And Tim Hill's a guy that's got like a sidearm delivery from the left side. And they asked him, they're like, so, what sort of things should Kyle Schwarber be focused on in this at bat to take advantage of a lefty-lefty matchup like Tim Hill? And Joey's like, oh, there's nothing. You're just up there surviving with a guy like this, because Tim Hill's coming from the first base side, basically. So he's behind Kyle Schwarber by the time he delivers the ball. And so you're just like, all right, just make contact. Let's just not strike out. Eventually he flew out the left field on a full count pitch, but it was just phenomenal how he broke it down. It was much more detailed than that, much more Joey Votto than that. That's a bad impression of Joey Votto, but I would love to see more of this, because this was his first game. I mean, we're talking about July 26th, the Sunday night game on NBC, his first game. Broadcasting for NBC. I really hope we see him a lot more down the stretch, and especially a lot in the playoffs, because the broadcasts are just going to be that much better for him.
Yeah, and we'll put a bow on this. Let's do one more. We got enough time. We'll squeeze in one more thing to be excited about. One more little bit of optimism, Jeff. I'm a little excited about all of the things coming out of Andrew Abbott's mouth right now. If you've been hearing him talk lately, the performance is really there on the field right now. And his desire to stay in Cincinnati, I believe, to be genuine. He is saying the things that you want to hear from a guy that really truly sounds like he wants to be here. It is not the obligatory. We'll see if we can get together. I'm open to whatever offers. Like Andrew Abbott sounds like he wants to be here.
Yeah, he's saying things that honestly Emilio Pagan said last year, and Emilio Pagan made it known whenever the Reds signed him in free agency in the offseason that he's like, I only wanted to be in Cincinnati. I told my agent, I don't care about other offers. I want to be in Cincinnati. It kind of feels like Andrew Abbott has had a similar conversation with his agent, because you're right. Like most guys, whenever these ideas are presented to them, they're either like, oh, we'll just see where it plays out. My agent handles that, or, oh yeah, sure. I love it here, kind of dismissive, but still positive, something like that. Wasn't what Andrew Abbott was saying at all. Andrew Abbott was direct and being like, yes, I want to be here. And I think that would be really awesome if the Reds were able to lock him down long-term and buy out a couple of free agent years. Because then you're talking about the top three of your rotation is set.
Yep.
Period, for multiple seasons. How great would that be? And then, you're talking about what does Rhett Lauder develop into? Can the Reds acquire some more pitching talent at this deadline? I would love for that to be a bit of a focal point if they're able to do that. There's rumors, and we talked about on yesterday's episode, me and Tim did, that the Mariners are open to the idea of trading Emerson Hancock for the right-handed hitter. I thought that was probably going to be Spencer Steer. That might not be him anymore. But if you could still go get a guy like that, that would just be awesome.
All right, I'm feeling a little bit better now, Jeff. This was a good idea to end the show on this kind of a segment. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Reds. Thanks, everybody, for being everydayers. Thanks for being here. Click those subscribe buttons. Click those notification bells. Trade deadline is coming, and Jeff and I and Tim Daniel as well, we are going to be here glued to the reports, gathering up all of the information. We will drop in with breaking news. We'll drop in with bonus shows. We will drop in as things unfold to keep you informed. For the audio folks, go check out Locked On MLB. Sully's got you covered over there for everything going on throughout the world of Major League Baseball. You've also got former Reds reliever Mike Stanton with his show over there, giving you things from a retired player's perspective, and the folks at MLB Game Night, watching every single game, every single night, so that you don't have to. For the video folks, you're going to jump over to Locked On's first ever 24/7 national YouTube channel, where all of the experts of the Locked On network are talking ball 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We will be back in your feeds tomorrow. We're going to continue to gather up the news, the notes, the rumors, the reports, and the information to keep you Locked On Reds every single day.
I did see that apparently Brady Singer is now pitching on Wednesday. So yeah, trade deadline, you're thinking, you're feeling, there's rumors, there's this, and it all changes on a dime.
Hug watch, baby. Hug watch.
#HugWatch. We back.